Mēs tūdaļ ķeramies klāt Baltic Nordic Connectivity in Circular Economy sadarbībā ar CSR Latvijā. Tātad šī diskusija notiek angļu valodā. Moderators būs Banku augstskolas profesore Natālija Cudečka Puriņa. Sagaidām Natāliju lūdzu ar aplausiem, un Natālija pieteiks arī savus sarunu biedrus. Mēs parunāsim par to, kā valstis savā starpā sadarbojas šajā jomā. Natālija, tad attiecīgi, tad laipni lūgti, aicinām arī savus diskutantus uz skatuvi. Paldies.
Okay, thank you. So we switch to English now, and before we kick off, I would like to invite to the stage our panel speakers. So please welcome Agnes Elksne Bensone, CSR Latvia and Baltic Hotspot co-founder. Yes. Einar Kleppe, Nordic Circular Hotspot, CEO and founder of Natural Estate. Welcome to the stage. Yes. Katrin Batt, Kell and board member of the Responsible Business Forum. And Associate Professor Inga Gurauskiene, Kaunas University of Technology. Please welcome. Okay, so what a day. We had plenty of inspiring discussions, debates, presentations, and so basically, as our forum today draws to a close, so this final session will turn our attention to the regional cooperation. So basically, we will try to tackle how the Baltic and Nordic countries can connect, collaborate, and co-create the next stages of the circular transition. So, and let me maybe set us all on the same page. Basically, so we have talked a lot today about the best practices within the circular economy, and I would like to ask all of you, with a little intro, so basically, how would you describe the current state of circular economy where you come from? So basically, what maybe specific initiatives or sectors best illustrate the process currently? Maybe.
Okay. Hello to everybody. I came from Lithuania, as introduced. And in Lithuania, we have started circular economy, actually, I can say from the development of industrial transition roadmap to circularity. And it was in 2020. And after that, it was developed the action plan on circularity. But the main focus areas we are focusing when transitioning to circularity is textiles, packaging, as well energy sector, and food sector. So there are the main issues, and we are dealing a lot with waste sorting, recycling technologies, but as well we are seeing many opportunities in developing innovations for creating environmental friendly and circular products.
Yeah, hello from my side as well, and I come from Estonia. And what I can say that unfortunately, I would say, and I guess it's the same, and maybe it's because I'm just this kind of pessimistic Estonian, but I would say the situation is not great. And latest I checked, latest report was that this circular reuse rate was about 11% in Estonia. What is the most sad that it has been like this 15 years. So it's not really moving anywhere. And about the areas, I was happy to see this construction is there. So I guess this has quite big impact. So in that sense, I think it's good. There are some projects, and as I am coming actually from the food sector, so if I think about that, then we have had quite good examples there as well, and I'm happy to see that while I'm working actually in the Baltic function now, I see in the food sector also here quite good movement in Latvia, Lithuania, obviously as well. So yeah, this is maybe to point out the best.
So I think everything what happened today is like finding out our potential stakeholders about who can be part of the conversation. Regarding the state of circularity, I would say we are in a breaking point for just understanding that when we looked at the data, then we found out that it's very hard for us to understand where the data is coming from. Are these data thank you. Are these data something that we can trust? Are these data something that we can follow constantly? And of course, we have numbers, like general numbers on our circular economy plan. Like now we are like at the 5%, what is very low. And we have increased in waste recycling, that's a big increase in Latvia. But I think the main problem what we have is that we are not clear about how we can actually move forward and who will be the first industry that will have a breaking point and will actually transition to more circularity.
Very good. I have two hats, both the Nordic region, with Nordic Circular Hotspot, but also the Norwegian country, coming from Oslo in Norway. The circular state of Norway is so far the worst in the world, with 2.4% circularity, so it has a very high consume. But this was discovered in 2019, so it had the longest way to go, but it's also gone a long way. So we have a lot of programs, a lot of strategies. We have a circular strategy now. We have a good understanding. So it's a high awareness, but there's still a long way to go. What has developed since the 2020s is, of course, the collaborative mode in the Nordics. So to look at how the Nordic is now developing, and which we are also a part of, is the awareness in the market dynamics and how we are kind of starting more and more to look at implemented models, concrete actions. So maybe since we've had such a long way to go, we've been moving from talking and thinking to doing and implementing. And that is an interesting phase to be in. So, yeah, but we're still walking on.
I guess we're all working and it's never-ending process, so that's totally fine. And yes, I guess I have heard some keywords here like awareness creation of incentives and support. That's also very, very important, something that we have to stimulate and keep rolling. So let's now look across the borders. So basically, let's take a look what still prevents the efforts. So we talk about often about cooperation and co-creation, but what do we still missing, if any, to make it real? So maybe I will start with Katrin. What barriers do businesses face in collaborating across borders or sectors to achieve circularity? What do you think?
No, I wouldn't say there are barriers. There are only possibilities. So because if you think about circularity as a business opportunity, then I myself, coming actually also from the business, obviously I realized that as soon as there is some new wave of something, there is always somebody who is going to offer the solutions. So as soon as we are open and look for solutions, I wouldn't say there are barriers, but maybe just before us, it was on the stage here, they were talking about regulations, and myself also work a lot right now about different regulations, and I see every time I read one regulation, I see so many opportunities. And as you have heard, like similarly with CSRD and EUDR and all these regulations, they are kind of offering, like somebody is finding a way to, okay, this is the business I can create, and they come so quickly. So I would say circularity has the same opportunity here. So I don't know, I can't even call any barriers, just the limit of imagination. So I would say like this. But
I can comment about barriers. We have several members who were trying to do some circularity projects. And one of the biggest obstacle is about what we do about the waste regulation. when it becomes the waste, when it actually drops on the floor? How long does it stay in your territory? Is it still a waste? And what you do after that? And can you cooperate? Do you have time to cooperate? Do you have a license to actually cooperate with this product? What is like a leftover, but maybe actually it's classified as a waste. So that's one part. But also, I think the obstacles will come when we talk about Circular Economy Act, because if businesses will be pushed to actually reduce, repair, and what else is there? Redesign, then of course the regulation will be a shock to some industries, and how we actually will do it. And I think, and this regulation is not the only one. We also have digital passports. We also have consumers directive. We also have green claims directive. So all these directives, actually, it is an opportunity for the good business to strive, but for the mainstream business, it's a challenge. How to go like.
Yeah, maybe just about this consumer needs in that sense as well, because there are already some, fancy solutions, definitely. And we just drove here today from Estonia, and we were discussing about companies who have this very sustainable solutions, but it's just too expensive for our region. Like if you talk about Baltics only, then the Nordics, they are very happy, and there is actually much more demand already, because simply they are a bit better state with economically than we are in Baltics. But I believe it's normal, as we are quite young country compared with the young country living this nice capitalistic life as we have had so far. You have had hundreds of years like this nice capitalistic economic, while we are still getting there, and we are getting there definitely, but it just takes time.
Yeah, sure. And well, so basically what I hear, one point is scalability. So, and economies of scale, of course, that we have to take into account. Agnes, let me get back to you again. So you mentioned regulations. Do you think there is a possibility that regulations from constraints can become a certain practical tool for the companies? And is there any possibility to do it in the short run, on the long run?
I am a true believer that actually regulation can open market and can actually restrain bad practice. And I think that it is very wise to give just a transition period. So when is introduced the regulation, so since transition period is giving you time to rethink your business model. And then it becomes an opportunity. And also I think that nobody has promised the business to be long-term, working like it's working. Nobody promised that. So it's, I think, the mindset of the company's DNA, if you want to change or not.
Mm-hmm. I just comment a little bit about these things as well. I don't know if I would say that the Nordic societies are built on pure market liberalistic or capitalistic models, because there is actually a very big balance in the social democracy's structure. There's a strong balance between public and private regulation and public and private management of wealth. And I think the regulatory forces of, for instance, Norway has been very important in driving some of the key transition. Anything from the recycling machines of bottles and glass that has been going on for Norway for a long time. How we saw the EV transition in Norway with the incentives of no tax and no VAT, and how we managed to boost the whole structure. That was purely governmentally incentivized. And so it's very important to work in these understandings of how you do it together, because the market doesn't work without regulations.
Basically often treats, for the right mindset.
Yeah, and you need to make that into a very clear common cause. And I think that is where we saw the biggest barriers in the transition of sustainable markets or sustainable economies and circular economy, is that in the beginning there was a very big lack of common understanding, common value perspective, and common understanding of the benefits that it could create. And now it's starting to emerge more and more. And then, but our biggest problem with the scaling the transitional solutions is market capacity. And that is why we really quickly understood we had to work together in the Nordics. We had to 5 times the market, because the market in itself, based on the historical perspective, is not structured or regulated for circular solutions. It's so many regulatory barriers, it's so many and absolutely non-logical dynamics that are just there historically. And to overcome that, you need to build a market capacity to sustain those new sustainable solutions. And that is why we had to reach out from Norway, only 5 million inhabitants, to all of the Nordics. And this is also why we're interested in expanding that also into the Baltics, because when you start working with value chain transparency and understanding how actual value is created and proposed in the markets, and we understand that we are interconnected also with you guys, right? So we need to understand it in the full dynamic. And that is a very interesting value proposition to work with.
I think we had a very beautiful examples about the textile here, that it's dumped in Baltics, but actually it comes from. And then, for example, we build construction materials or gives construction service, goes back to your countries, and then what do you do with that? And so, I mean, that's a resource brain drain. It was a brain drain for the knowledge, and now it's like a resource brain drain. So, and I think this interconnectivity, it requires a lot of networking, a lot of trust, a lot of open mind. We discussed like before, and also I think innovations. And I'm looking at Inger, like you have experience about that how it can help.
Yeah, so talking about the culture, actually, not about maybe the structure of different countries, but about the culture, I think it is a very important factor in order to make transition. And what we can see in our Baltic countries, so we have not forgot our history. When we had a very different situation, so this forced us to compete and to reach for some specific goals, economic goals, first of all. We are oriented to that, but I think that now we are in such point when we reach some level, let's say on the Maslow pyramid, and now we can think a little bit broader to more complex problems. Because I think that the main challenge for the circularity is complexity of this issue. And that complexity makes a problem maybe and a very huge challenge for many industries, for different stakeholders to cooperate, to find a common solution, because they are used to solving the issues in the players, let's say. But now they have to start to collaborate, looking to the more broader goals, which of course are determined by the EU. And even today we can see that the EU has defined the climate goal for 2035, that we are supposed to reach from 66 to 72% of CO2 emissions decrease. So I think that those goals, as well financial incentives, helps a lot to make and to create innovations. And cooperation between different stakeholders, including universities, academia, and business companies, even non-governmental organizations, which are so active in the circular transition, it makes us opportunities to create something what makes a real change in the economy, and as well, which is positive for our environment and regenerated.
Thank you. To continue on that one, actually, Inga, I had a question as a follow-up. So what do you think? How can we actually create a truly connected circular market if we're speaking of Baltic states and also the Nordics? Any chance to do that? What do you think?
Yes, actually, this initiative has been started a few years ago, and my colleague as well was participating there before, and now I have opportunity to be here. And I'm very happy to see how this cooperation is happening. Of course, we are still under development of this Baltic Circular Hotspot, but last week we had the first meeting with a group of Nordic Baltic Circular Transition Group for textiles. And I, together with one of the colleagues from Lithuania, are the representatives in the steering group committee. And even now, we find some solutions, we find collaborations. And in the sessions before, it was presented the project, and actually that project was like initiator of this cooperation. So even without those organizational aspects, we can see that the life is happening and everything is under creation. So it's like life based on circularity. Yeah.
Now, to kind of create that integrated circular and sustainable market is the agenda of the Nordic Circular Hotspot, and it has also been kind of inherited as the agenda of the Baltic Circular Hotspot, and also in the collaboration form this greater region of collaborative market dynamics. And it's really important to have the market approach. We decided that already in 2020. And the transition group program is where we go into each different key category of market value chains or segments. For instance, the construction, which has come very far, which is very dependent on the Baltic region in the Nordics. Textile, as you refer to, now we do food systems. So we need to look at the value chains. And talking about culture, the market culture of Norway, for instance, is deeply fundamental in transparency. We have the most radical transparency dynamic in any legislated rule and regulation. And one of the most interesting legislative acts that came just in 22 years ago was the Transparency Act. And now we're looking into how we can, and that is actually the first law that enforces companies to report on value chains outside of the country and effect. It is socially angled now, but we hope that it will become environmental and material angled. And if you get that radical transparency in the market dynamics, you build trust. And when you have trust in the markets, you start to collaborate in different ways. And what we've always been focusing on is the golden rule of benefit all. This is something that you have to join, not only to kind of feel good and take care of the planet, but it is also for profit and for value propositions of new businesses. So the transition group of textile is really oriented towards how can you make better business. So it is really deeply rooted in the economical perspective and also integrated with the market dynamic. And I think that is the angle we have to have, because we have to make business in a different way. And then we also have to make markets that make that possible. Because there is a lot of resistance in the old market systems, but this is where we can kind of loop it with collaboration, understanding, and new solutions. So that is the higher agenda and goal of these projects.
Great. I think we have already heard some best practices and lessons that we can basically try to implement here and all of us back home. So looking ahead, if we think of what should be the next priority or big priority for regional cooperation, maybe let's start with Agnes. So if we try to link industry and regulation, where should we focus next to scale the impact? What do you think?
I think we still have some basic homework to do before scaling. And I think what we have discussions in Baltic Circularity Hotspot, that was memorandum was signed 2 years ago. That first thing what we have to do is to understand where we stand. So the ground, what is the data, what actually is an evidence that we can be circular or we should not be circular, or which industries are the priority, where there are materiality flows, which are the codependencies. And so we are still fundraising for that. That's one homework. Another homework is, of course, we need to understand how we cooperate. I think this culture of cooperation, when we have to bring together 3 countries with all the interests, it's already for me super challenging doing that every day. So for you, 7 countries, congratulations. And we have to learn that, because this culture about that talking actually, after I think 2 years of intensive cooperation, we can sit here and like talk absolutely freely, openly, with no hidden agenda and or some kind of ideas that is not aligned. So, and for that we need time. But the funny thing is we don't have time, because we want to actually jump in front and talk about business, talk about innovations, talk about hubs, talk about clusters, talk about transition groups. So, but we are in this spot that we have to do both. So the homework and also the transition groups. I think that will be the next 2026 for Baltic Circular Hotspot to actually dive in and how we can bring these parties together.
And we really want to help shortening that time, because we've been at it for some time, 6 years now. And it's 5 countries and 3 autonomous regions. So a total of 8 different structures in the Nordics. But it's really been important to get this knowledge. So we had the gap reports of the different countries. The circular economy is natural resource management. So you need to know about your materials and your resources. So the gap reports helped a lot. And then we did a regulatory overview of the different countries to find those regulatory barriers, which could be solved by politicians. We did the finance sector analysis. How do you actually fund these new solutions? And then we started the transition group program. And to help and support the Baltic Circular Hotspot now to loop to where we are, or we came after 5 years, is important. And then we also did unite the community, the people who actually wants to do this work. So we did the Nordic Circular Summits, and we strategized that so it was in one capital after another. So we did 5 years, a new capital: Oslo, Copenhagen, Stockholm, Reykjavik, Helsinki. And now we're doing Nuuk in 2 weeks, and then we will be doing Tórshavn and then Åland. So to really bring it around, and then over time it becomes unifying. Although maybe Oslo was the first, it was natural because we're in the project management and has been that. But it was also the easy and practical way. So to be pragmatic, practical, have parallel processes, and think over time. So in a 3-year span, we should be at the same place, and we could really, really collaborate between the regions as well, is my hope.
Perfect. Well, if continuing the priority topic, Katrin, actually, I have a question for you. So how can we make circularity more competitive and compelling for businesses? Do you think it's viable?
Yeah, of course. I think looking from the business point of view, and as I mentioned before, whenever there is possibility to, first of all, about this effectiveness, that you can be more effective. I mean, name me the business who doesn't want to be more effective. So, and in the circularity, I guess there are so many opportunities here. So in that sense, I would point this out. But also what I wanted to point out about this previous question as well, and it was already said here on the stage before, if I understood correctly, about this complexity, what is in this circularity. There is no one model. I mean, this circle is nice, but you can't really use it as simple as that in all the areas we want to implement it. So if I'm coming from the food sectors, it's like from representing big retail chain, it's quite difficult what to do with this food afterwards, other than just donate and to give it to somebody else. But to create a new food out of it, it's quite tricky. So while in the other areas it's much easier. But yeah, there is always, I mean, as I mentioned before, if it is possible for the business, they will find the loop. They are always looking for the ways. And what I would maybe point out, what is the challenge here, is how to put it on sales. Like the sales part is tricky. Like it's my everyday job as a sustainability manager as well in the company to offer the solution how to create sales with sustainability, as the customer side is not really demanding on that side yet. So effectiveness we can do much better, but the sales part is tricky.
Maybe we are reluctant to pay about environmental issues, but maybe we should pay, and we are willing to pay for security issues. So circularity also brings out possibility to shorten supply chains. The resource efficiency among different industries is very different when you think about industrial symbiosis or anything else. So also understanding and being cautious about resources, what you have, and how long will you have the resources and how you use it it's also a security issue. And if we are not willing to pay for environment, then maybe we are paying for security as an argument to actually
Yeah,
do it.
especially in the environment where we are right now, meaning like one day we all witnessed the time when everything was closed, right? During the COVID period, now with the war, we know that certain resources we cannot access. So basically, the better we manage in the small group, like, I don't know, Baltics, Nordics, even the country-based, I mean, it's one moment it can be crucial.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, maybe super short interaction from Inga's part, something that we didn't tackle upon, data. What do you think, how important is data? How important role of data has it in all of these processes?
Yes, actually data is very important, as already been told today, to identify what is state of the art, but as well in order to define the goals and objectives, what we are reaching for. But I would like to emphasize the importance not only on quantitative data, but as well on qualitative data, in order to identify the ecosystem which exists and to find solutions which are not oriented only to a specific country, to a specific industry, but for the collaboration in the interdisciplinary way.
Okay, thank you so much. So we actually totally ran out of time, but thank you all for your inputs and sharing the knowledge, sharing your best practices. So just to wrap up point from my side, I think it's super clear that each of the countries we are going on basically on our own pace, but well, we have one, our shared potential lies in alignment and basically setting everyone on the same page and fostering the cooperation. So thank you, and yes, thank you.
Thank you, Natalia.
Thank you very much. Thank you.